Hello, and welcome to another Tuesday tutorial. Today, we're talking about faces. Based on your requests, I'm starting another 3-part coloring series, this time on the elements of the face, specifically the eyes, the nose, and the lips. In this part 1 of the trilogy, I will cover in detail how I approach coloring eyes. To demonstrate my technique, I drew this sample for us to practice on. Let's get started. Wait, we can't get started yet. I have an event winner to announce. We have just come to a close of a month-long coloring event called Forest Light. It was based on my coloring skin tones tutorial. And I gotta tell you guys, it was such a joy to see all of you show up at the event, see all the beautiful submissions. It was literally the biggest turn up that I've ever had on a Facebook event. The decision was very difficult, but as you know, there's only one prize, and that's my original physical drawing that I did for that episode. So I had to stay up a couple of nights and study all the submissions closely to arrive at one winner. And I'm happy to announce that I will announce the winner at the end of the video. First, we have work to do. I know, that was harsh, but I can't have you guys distracted for the lesson. So, now we can get started for real. And later I'll show you all the submissions and reveal the winner. I specifically isolated the eyes in this drawing by framing them with an ornate hijab. But even though most of the face is hidden, it's important to start with the skin and not the eyes themselves. Establishing the character's skin tone and how she's lit will make it a lot easier for me to see how the eyes need to be colored. So, tip number 1, start with the skin. My character has a darker golden olive skin, so I decided to work on tan-toned paper. This tan color gives me a nice base layer to play with. I start by establishing my main shadows with a sienna brown. I don't want to make things confusing by introducing unusual light sources or multiple light sources. Instead, I will keep my luminance neutral, straight on, perhaps studio lighting, like she's having her picture taken. You can see that I've already suggested light direction in this drawing. Can you spot it? It's in the eyes. That single little part right there, that's the light reflecting in the pupils. This will be the lightest part of the eyes, and it's an indication of where the light that shines on her is coming from. In this case, we can see that it's a single round light that is cast from directly in front of her and a bit from above. This can be sunlight or a ceiling lamp or a directional studio lighting like something that I'm using here. If there were multiple light sources, we would actually get multiple light reflections. Here's tip number 2. Keep your light source consistent between the eyes and the face. Now that I know where the light source is in this drawing, I know that I need to stay true to it when coloring the skin. So, back to shading. I use a light peach color to indicate the lightest part of the skin. And I also use this pencil to blend my shadows a little bit more. I love working with Prismacolor pencils because they allow me to blend my colors very smoothly. Now that I have the light and shadow established on the face, I like to add more color. In this case, I'm working with a mineral orange to suggest olive-colored skin, and also a warm light source. Perhaps it is sunlight after all. I use dark umber to define the eyelids, the eyelashes, and the eyebrows. With this dark brown, I begin to give the area around the eyes some definition. There are some very important shadows that happen around the eyes that you need to keep in mind. First, it's this area under the eyebrow and close to the bridge of the nose. Because the light is cast slightly from above, the shadow will always be here, and it will help define how deep the eyes are set. The second important shadow happens in this area off the corner of the eye, stretching up to the tip of the eyebrow and spilling down about a third of the length of the eye. This is one of my favorites. I like to exaggerate it ever so slightly to give the eye a more exotic and seductive look. Finally, I like to define that crease in the eyelid very well. It's just a personal preference, and it also works very well with this complexion. So, tip number 3, know your shadows. The other reason that I chose direct straight-on lighting for this character is to demonstrate symmetry. Most faces are symmetrical. Most. So, with simple directional lighting and with no turn of the head, you're pretty safe copying all the effects over from one side to the other, just mirrored. Keep in mind though, both when drawing and when coloring, that no facial symmetry is ever exact. Don't obsess over copying the right side exactly as the left. Some variation and imperfection actually goes a long way. It tricks the human eye into registering reality. Nearly perfect symmetry is believable. 100% identical halves are impossible. Okay, finally I start coloring the actual eyes. Now that I see the skin color, the shadow placement, and the general lighting, I know exactly how to approach them. I start with that thin pink area under the eye and in the inner corners. This color is very difficult to get right, and it's a subtle detail. In this case, I used several different colors layered on top of one another to get the exact effect that I wanted. You don't want this area to turn out to be too red or too pink, That will make your character look sick or like she's been crying a lot. Of course, if that's the story that you're trying to convey, by all means go for it. But here, I want her eyes to be relaxed and happy. Tip number 4. Take it easy on the pink. The next part is very simple but very important. I use a warm gray to do this. It's that drop shadow that you get on the actual eyeballs from the eyelids. Make sure to carry that all the way across, over the white and over the iris. I also like to use the same color to outline the iris. Tip number 5. Define the shadows cast by the eyelids. Now, the whites of the eye are never actually white, and they look even less white with all the shadows that are cast by lashes, lids, eyebrows, hair, jewelry, and whatever else is around. A common mistake that colorists make is filling these areas with solid white. This makes the eyes look very flat and painted. Tip number 6. Don't be afraid to use gray or beige for the whites of the eyes. I use a combination of dark and light warm gray, adding just the tiniest white highlights here and there to suggest that the eyes are slightly moist. You can do this with a white pencil or a white gel pen or white acrylic paint. Now for everyone's favorite part, eye color. I start with orange. Strange, right? The reason for an offbeat color is that the eyes are very complex. But since we're not doing a hyper-realistic microphotography imitation drawing of the iris, we can't possibly get all that detail in there. The next best thing is layering colors to achieve an illusion of depth. So I start with orange and I add a layer of jade green, which is this nice pale blue-green color. I proceed to define the irises with a sienna brown and espresso until I arrive at the look that I like. Tip number 7, don't use one solid color for the irises. Build up your layers. Now that I have the eyes and the eyelids drawn, I can add makeup. I like to approach drawing makeup the same way that I approach makeup in real life. I apply it over actual skin color. Another common mistake is leaving the eyelids blank and applying blue, green, or purple tones directly to white paper. It often looks very flat. You can never get crisp and clean saturation of any color when applying it as eyeshadow. Part of the charm of makeup is its diffuse, suggestive look. Always establish your skin color first, and then add decoration on top. You'll see, it makes a huge difference. Tip number 8, apply makeup colors over the skin color. Now black. I like to leave black details to the very end. The only parts of this composition that should be solid black are the pupils and maybe the eyelashes. The only true white parts should be those little white highlights in the eyes. Tip number 9. The pupils are the only parts of the eyes displaying solid black and solid white. Now that that's done, I'm just quickly going to finish up all the ornate details around the face, just to frame it nicely and make it look complete. I know, I said only use solid white on the eye reflections, so Lisa, what are you doing going crazy with white charcoal all of a sudden, you may ask? Well, you're not coloring the face anymore. You're now coloring the little metallic coins and trinkets, which are a whole separate element and follow their own coloring routes. If you're interested in the yellow metal color effect, I actually just did a tutorial on that topic. You can check it out here, and I will also put it in the video description. At this point, I'm just going over the whole drawing, making tiny adjustments, seeing if anything looks weird or out of place. For instance, I noticed that one of the eyelids is not quite as dark as I would like it to be, so I need to tweak that a bit. Tip number 10. Give your coloring a quick final scan and see if anything needs a touch-up. Alright, I promise. The winner is Megan Laura. Congratulations, Megan. You really blew me away with this coloring. You've taken what I've taught in my lesson and put your own twist on it. It has a strong style, it's the right combination of elegant and daring, not to mention multiple light sources are really hard to pull off, and you did it beautifully. My original drawing of this character is yours. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I've put this practice page in the YouTube Pages photo album in my Facebook group, Tom. If you're not already a member, come join us. Here's the link. If you like this tutorial, please take a moment to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and share with your friends. Next week, I'll talk about coloring noses and how to make them look realistic and three-dimensional, so make sure to tune in for that. My tutorials come out every Tuesday at 2 p.m. UTC, but when time allows, I also like to release unplanned art videos and tutorials throughout the week. So to make sure you don't miss out on any of those, click on that little bell button below the video to your right. I'm Lisa Mitrakin. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!